All right. Well, Jon Christensen, thank you and welcome to Leverage. Finally, this is full visibility. Everybody's listening. We tried this 3 times, as I was just saying, and it did not
Yeah.
work. So I'm super excited that we finally figured it out and got you on here. So, welcome, founder, creator of bidmii.
Yeah, I'll say co-founder. So yeah, Philip and James, my brother, deserve enough credit for the founding of the company, and yeah, it's a good team.
Awesome. Awesome. So, again,
Thank you
one
for
of these.
having me.
Yeah, no, one of these amazing companies that I had have the pleasure of getting introduced to through Reach Canada, that I'm a part of, and selfishly, it's like one of the reasons why I like never want like they're always like, okay, who wants to be a mentor? Hands up this year. I'm like me. I love all the innovation that comes through there, and um, not all of them I see. I don't say success because what am I like Shark Tank? That's not it. It's just it's it's more um, because I work in the business every single day, and there's all these ideas that come through, like how we can help realtors, how we can get into real estate, and so I understand I can immediately be like, no one's gonna pay for that,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
right? But your idea at first, which I was like skeptical when we got on a call and you explained it to me, I was like, it's brilliant. So
Oh, thank you.
I think we have to start with what your background is because your background and the story, the cliche goes, you always create something that you needed that didn't exist, right? So take it away, John.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, so my background is actually primarily in the restaurant business. The joke was always that I didn't have a choice but to get into the restaurant business. My dad owned a couple of East Side Mario's restaurants and other restaurants, and my mom was a professor of hospitality at the University of Guelph. So just,
No choice.
yeah, straight into the restaurant. Did every job in a restaurant from dishwasher to kitchen manager and host to floor manager, all of that good stuff. But made the leap onto the corporate side of the restaurant world. Became a corporate trainer, ran around the country helping people open restaurants, do that sort of thing. But really landed in the development side. So handling everything from franchising to real estate to design and construction, and sort of overseeing that process from when somebody puts their hand up and says, "Hey, I want to be a franchisee," all the way to doors are opening. Here's the training team. Let's go. And so I was working for St. Louis Bar and Grill, proud Canadian chicken wing and beer joint.
It came from Bistro on the Avenue,
Right. Yeah.
which was an institution and has the best dill sauce to this day. And she just reopened with the steak pit on Avenue Road, and the dill sauce is still as good as it was before. But she doesn't have a safe fryer, so I can't eat there. But oh my God, I grew up on those wings. That was the best. Anyway, going back to how,
Yeah, so I was handling international development for St. Louis Bar and Grill. We were just getting our first set of deals done in Florida, and had begun looking at Korea as the second international
really,
market,
so cool.
biggest chicken wing and beer market per capita on the face of the earth. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, from
That's
what I
very
understand,
different.
there's a
Great.
word in Korean, just chimeg, and it means chicken wings and beer.
So
Uh,
funny.
so there you go. But then COVID struck, and as that COVID story shut down the restaurant industry, like in one fell swoop.
One
The
fell
question at
swoop.
the time was, is the restaurant industry dead? What's going to happen? And it's like, no, like every restaurant, every good, solid restaurateur that I know is so grimy, and they're ready to dig so deep, and like anybody who can make 5% margins work can withstand, some
COVID.
some element of risk. And look, it's not to say there weren't casualties, but as far as restaurant development goes, that was decidedly going to take a hard pause. So I needed to figure out something else to do, and it was my the love of my life, my darling wife, who had said, "Hey, you've been running around building these restaurants all over the world. Isn't it time you finished our basement?" and and so we did that. We did a lot of the work ourselves. We we had renovated homes previously, so we kind of knew what we were doing, and so we did a bunch of it ourselves. We hired contractors to sort of fill in skills gaps, whether it be electrical, underground plumbing, that sort of thing. But we ended up with sort of a fourth washroom, an office slash bedroom, and then a bunch of play space for the kids. All in all, it was about 600 square foot basement reno, and we ended up getting it
Not a
done.
lot in 600 square feet, by the way.
Yeah, it was, I mean, efficient use of space for sure. Um, but we did it all, and it cost us about, I think it was around $16,000, and that's where,
Everybody hear that?
yeah, that's the reaction that all of our neighbors had, right? And they were like, "How in the world did you do this?" And it's like, well, there was definitely some elbow grease, some sweat equity that went into it. But really, it was taking a lot of the standard operating procedures from the commercial world and applying them to this. So it was like, first, let's get a really solid scope of work. So let's get proper drawings. And we did the drawings. We got the drawings done. We went in for permit. And then we went out for tender, right? And we would, get 3 or 4 bids for electrical, 3 or 4 bids for plumbing, 3 or 4 bids for framing. And so it was that sort of that competitive tension that made sure that we were getting market rates, that we weren't getting ripped off. Everything had a contract that was that contained the very specific scope of work and signed off on, including sort of deposit schedules and payment schedules and everything else. And it went really smoothly. I think we knocked it off in
Because
about,
everything was laid out.
yeah.
Like there was no guesswork, right? Like everyone was on the same page. This is where you had me. This is where I was right. So he didn't just say, "Hey, I should create a platform and put everybody on there," because that sounds like a good idea. It was entrenched in this like successful model that you had just cut and paste over the years in the restaurant commercial space that you knew worked, and said, this can move over to the residential space.
Well, yeah, and it wasn't until we started talking to our neighbors, and number one, they couldn't believe the price that we did it for, and then number two, they couldn't believe how quickly it went, how quickly we got permits signed off on, and how quickly we were happy with the space. Like at the time, we were talking to neighbors who had paid like 8 times that. Project wasn't done. It had been going on for 6 months, and there was no end in sight. And they were just like, "How did this happen? How did you do this? What was the secret?" And so there's obviously a bit of experience that goes into it, but that was sort of our quintessential light bulb moment where it's like, oh, right, like unless you've done this, you don't really know how to do it. So like, how hard would it be for us to create this system where homeowners can log in, we'll help them create a scope of work, we'll help distribute that scope of work for an RFP, we'll get them multiple bids from multiple contractors. But then when we really dove into the dirt of the industry and we're like, okay, well, like what problem are we really trying to solve? That was where we stumbled on the issue of stolen deposits, right? And just how many people get ripped off by either intentionally or unintentionally, where they give someone a deposit and they either disappear, they never hear from them again, phone number change, business disappears, or it's like, they give a deposit to someone who they don't realize is behind the 8 ball and is underwater on 3 other projects and is literally just using your deposit to finish those last jobs. And like
Yeah,
it's
what's that
quite a
called?
nightmare.
A Ponzi scheme?
Yeah, or a shell game, or there's so many different.
Or a pyramid scheme or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, there's so many
Moving the
different.
money around. Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think that that's really well, I mean, I would say best practice is always to get referrals, right? So I just did a podcast last week about best practices in getting, and this is where, by the way, I was a little bit sketchy on the concept to begin with, because my understanding is always you should use someone that someone else used, right? And now I'm getting into a situation where I'm going onto a website again, like I'm in my 50s, so it's like it may not be the best, market for this, but who am I getting on the other side,
Yeah.
right? Do I know these people? What kind of work do they do? That type of thing.
Well, as you can imagine, like we do a fair bit of speaking about fraud in the industry, and and we're out there pretty vocally and publicly saying, "Hey, the system's got to change. Like, there has to be a better way. We think we've got something," and so we get people telling us their horror stories, right, all the time. They're approaching us, and you'll say, "You'll
Horrible.
never believe what happened," and we're like, "Yeah,
And
we,
you're like,
we
oh, I
will."
will.
But it's funny. The biggest dollar value losses typically come from someone that was recommended. And it's those are the cases where it's not necessarily a scam artist in the traditional sense, right? It's not someone who's going door to door trying to rip people off for $500-600 deposits here and there. It's the $130,000 renovation. It's the person who did complete a ton of great renovations, but
There's a
it's
huge
it's
team.
but it's
Could
when
be a
it's
huge
there's a downswing in the market and they're affected, and all of a sudden they find that they don't have enough cash flow to make payroll, and they just start making decisions that they're not proud of, and it's not because they're like an evil bad person. They're literally just trying their best to make it work, right? And that's where some people get into trouble, and we're starting to see it more and more now, where companies with great reputations are going under because of the downturn in the economy. And unfortunately, like this is an industry where the people left holding the bag are the homeowners who had a deposit out with the company.
No, and for sure, I have a good friend who works for a builder, small company, like small builder, been around forever, very reputable, and was just like we always kind of catch up about the business. And he was saying, like, he's starting to get calls from different trades, and they're like looking for work, like, and so although, interestingly enough, he said prices have not come down where they should, considering the amount of calls he's getting, the competitive. But again, if you are in an RFP scenario where you have that and you're going into, it's very interesting how people like work, right? Like, it's like psychologically, you go into an RFP scenario where you're putting this out onto a platform and you're bidding for something, you're going to sharpen your pencil a little bit more versus calling a builder who does certain luxury products you've done before, and he's like, yeah, no problem, here's my whatever, right? So
You'd be surprised. So there's two comments there that I think are pretty interesting data points. So the first is that we have seen labor rates drop across the board on our platform. So
see,
there has been downward pressure overall, but we think it's more the macro effects of the economy. More people are looking for work, actively looking for work, and we're seeing that contractors are booking out like a week or two in advance when they previously were booking out six,
a
8 weeks,
year.
or they were saying like, "Hey, my season's full. We'll see you next year." Right? But yeah, no, they're now booking out a week or two. But I think when people hear about a competitive bid situation, what they think is that it's going to be some sort of a race to zero, or that everyone's sharpening their pencils. The really interesting dynamic that we've seen play out on bidmii is that because we hold funds in trust during a project, it means that all of the ratings and reviews on our platform are purchase verified. There's no way to fake a rating and review on our platform. And as we had more and more business come through our platform, we started to see something really interesting happen. And that was that over 70% of the projects are awarded to the contractor with the best ratings and reviews, regardless of the price. And the thesis here is that there's a greater understanding and a greater transparency for what that price like provides, right? So when you see that top rated contractor who's coming in at
On bidme.
17 on bidme, who's coming in at $17,000, and then you've got the mid-tier contractor who's coming in at $15,000, and then maybe you've got the person with bad reviews or no reviews coming in at $13,000, like the $17,000 bid is winning like 70% of the time. And it's just because the people don't want any issues. They just don't want problems. It's a trust thing.
No, for sure. I don't think it's a race to the bottom the way that you've set it up. I think that it's just psychologically that 17,000 might have been 20 in a different scenario. That's all I mean. But
Maybe.
so it's
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know that. What we do is that we know
well,
we've
the
got
fact that
some
you've
really.
seen prices drop and my builder hasn't, it's just, again, that's just like jury of one. Um, but I will say, so we were talking before we started that I had the opportunity to refer a client of mine to bid me for the first time. And his email to me, I didn't actually tell you this, was, young couple bought their first house, looking to do a small renovation, and asked me, like, do I know anybody? And I mean, there is not a single person that will deny this comment. The smaller the job, the harder it is to get it done. So again, jury of one, I have wanted to install a sliding door at my cottage for 5 years. It was done last week for the first time because I finally found someone who was willing to do it because, again, the economy has changed, the market has changed. And he says to me in the email, everyone's got a 5 star. Not on bidme. He just said, like, I'm trying to get referrals. Do you know anybody who's good? I had one guy, and I know he's expensive, and the smaller the job, the more expensive it is because he makes it worthwhile. He's a good guy. I would still trust him and refer him. But he's like, I go on Homestars, I go on whatever, and that, like, I don't know how he called it, but like that, like, good old, like, 5 star, like, system. Listen, realtors do it. Like, you're not, if are you sending it to everybody? Are you
Hey,
just sending it
there's
to?
honestly, like, there's people think
I'm so mad at that.
this is something we speak about a lot. Like, people think that in order to get fake reviews, like on any sort of a rating site, they think you have to, like, go on the dark web or know a guy in a trench coat who's going to meet you in an
They do
alleyway
not.
and you're going to hand them
They
some
do
cash and they're
not.
going to get you some fake reviews. But, like, literally whatever site you're using to look up contractors, do yourself a favor, type in the site's name and then how to buy 5 star reviews. And with a credit card in 10 minutes, you can
No
get,
way.
yeah, you can get reviews. So, whatever site you're using, like, just do yourself a favor and Google how hard is it to purchase those reviews?
It's very, listen,
It's so easy.
I had a very good friend of mine because I was talking to her about something, and like someone was saying, like, I do a really bad job of my Google reviews, right? Like, I don't listen. I come from, like, the testimonials and whatever. Like, come on, do you know what I mean? Like, they don't. Is it, again, my personal bias? And they're like, you have to be better at it and whatever. And so a friend of mine was like, oh, she's like, want me to write you a review? I'm like, no. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm sorry.
But
You go to
the
like,
truth is that everyone does it. Like,
A
it's
and
been
B. We
gamified,
had the
right?
best
Like,
time with Rachel. She's the best realtor. I'm like, give me a break. Do you know what I mean? I can't do it.
but it's
I don't
why
know.
we set up our system the way we did. Like, so it's like you have to, like, literally the rating and review process is built into the project closeout. So that's like when a homeowner is saying, okay, we're done here, that's when they're prompted to leave that rating and review. And that rating and review is what triggers the final payout on a job, right? And that's it. That's the only way. There's no open review form. You can't leave comments. It's wild. In fact, here's a fun one. And I don't think I've shared this on any podcast before, and I might get in trouble from our PR
You
folks.
heard it
But
here first.
here
Breaking
you
news.
go. So we had a homeowner call us and say, "Hey guys, I want to change my review on the contractor." And we said, "Oh, that's spicy. Like, that's interesting. How come? Like,
Tell us
did
more.
something fall apart? Like, what was it?" And she said, "Well, listen, I put my project on bidme. Hired this guy for a backsplash. Backsplash went perfectly. I left him a glowing 5 star review. It was great." I said, "But then I had this guy's cell phone number, so I just called him and asked him to come in and put in this hood vent, and I didn't use bidme." But he did such a lousy job on the hood vent, and I want to go back and change my review. And I said, "Well, but, like, you can't do, like you just said, like, the hood vent project didn't go through us, so we can't verify anything about this. Like, there's no pictures,
You didn't control it.
there's no scope of
Yeah.
work, there's no nothing. Like, we can't do
So
it."
interesting.
And it's like,
It's a great
whoa.
testimonial.
Like, well, and so she said, if you don't let me change my review, I'm going to take this to the press. And we said, go for it. Like,
Please do, actually. That'd be the best press we ever
yeah,
got.
like that would be like if it, like
Can I pay you to take that?
like I don't want to deal with that. But like, if you feel the need to go to the press, go to the press. Like, it's the same. It's the exact same contractor. And when he's working on bidme, it's organized. We've put in so much effort to make sure that there's clear communication around scope of work. And it was like, and when he didn't use it, that was when things went
That's when
haywire.
things go. I love it. I love it. So one of the things that I challenged you on the first time we talked and to understand the company was it and I was wrong, but it felt very similar to Jiffy and I also don't use Jiffy because I don't know who's showing up and that type of thing. So again, how do you differentiate and how would you say you differentiated from Jiffy?
Yeah, so we love Jiffy. We think those guys did a great job of building that company. They were successfully acquired by Intact Insurance.
Oh yeah, that's
So
right.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like, bravo, fellas. I think that Jiffy is great if you need somebody like right now, you've got a problem that needs to be fixed and you just need someone to show up and do the work, right? And we think they're perfect for that. I think where we differentiate is really that fixed priced bid system, right? So that's where it's like, hey, I've got a project that we're planning and we've got a scope of work that is well thought out and and we want to see what our options are, right? So I think that's the big differentiator. And
They're your handyman and you are their contractor.
you know what I say, we do handyman stuff too. Like, the classic example is my wife had a door handle replaced at our house for $58. Contractor happened to be in our neighborhood and saw it
Oh
pop
my
up
God.
and
I
said,
might
"Yeah,
actually
let's
get them to
go."
do. I'm like, I need someone to install a hose on the side of I'm like, I might just use bidme
That's
later.
like,
But really, I would say like that's where I think people just again, everyone's like they have their habits. This is what they do. This is what they think, and then they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that did it." So going on to my next question, a great start to my next question is like, who would you say is the customer? Like everybody listening right now, never heard of bidme. I own a home. I own whatever, and I'm just like I don't have a Rolodex of trades like a real estate agent, and so why am I calling bidme? When am I calling bidme?
so there's really two segments that we think about for our user base. There's like the open consumer marketplace, which is homeowners, and it's literally any homeowner who's looking to get anything done at their house. That again, that they're not looking for a rush. It's like they've got some planning time baked in. But then there's our group of power users. So our power users are realtors themselves that are either prepping a house for sale or using it to price jobs on the buy side, to say, okay, if you do buy this house, here's what you can expect for renos. Then there's landlords and then property management companies. And so, like, when we started, we just, I don't know, arrogantly assumed that we were building the Airbnb of home improvements and renovations. But we discovered that the payback period for us on a homeowner user is actually way too long. It's like 2.5, 3 years, and that just doesn't work for a company. You can't sustain. But last year we built an integration with a property management company, and that's been amazing. We've just been building integrations ever since. The latest is through a company called Virtuo. They're out of Calgary. They're really like a home concierge service, but with a partnership through them. We picked up 1,000 doors, maintenance program on 1,000 doors through Brookfield Residential. They're my home service. And so we've been the boots on the ground executing on those, and that's been really, really successful. So when we think about our growth and where people come from, it's really we've set it up so that it's really a choose your own adventure. It's like if you fit into one of those categories, we've got a solution for you.
That's fantastic. Um, I have some landlords I should introduce you to
The
for sure.
landlords love
You know.
us, um, especially because they often not all landlords have their all of their properties on the same street or in the same neighborhood, and so
Or
they
I'm even thinking of larger property, like guys that own multiple residentials across Canada for sure, who just like, then they don't, but for another conversation. But
the way those guys have told us they're thinking about bidme is that everyone in that space is really familiar with decentralized leasing. So the idea that you've got one central portal or whatever to do all of your leasing, and they've said that bidme is the first decentralized maintenance platform. And so that's where we're starting to onboard more and more and more Propra, which is a very popular property management platform. We're building an integration with them that kicks off relatively shortly, but we're meeting with landlords from like a couple thousand doors all the way up to 90,000 doors on how they can augment their teams with us.
well, I'm sure that we'll be hearing some news about someone buying you maybe one day as well. But in the meantime, and so I was telling you about telling of someone about you guys the other day also, just um, and they said, well, how do they make money? So I'm a homeowner. Am I paying? Who's paying? How does that work?
Right. So there's a number of different ways that we make money. First is contractor subscriptions. So for a contractor to be on our platform, we used to have like a freemium tier, but we've actually done away with that. We were so many contractors joining our platform that we were just inundated, and we ended up spending like 90% of our time with free users who weren't paying us. And so we were like, okay, let's be done with the free tier. But we don't want it to be unaffordable for anyone. And so the way that we've got it set up is contractors pay us $150 a month to be on our platform. But if they can't afford it, if they're a handyman, if they just want to test us out, we'll offer a scholarship. And the scholarship can be like they can pay $0 for the first 2 months, or it's almost like a pay what you can for a limited time for the first year, right? So it's saying, hey, we need you to understand that we're a business. We have to make money too.
Right,
So
but you can test it without
test
putting
it
yourself in.
without like a huge risk, and there's no contracts. They're not locked into anything, so the moment they decide they hate it, they can cancel right away. The other piece is that we homeowners will pay a payment processing fee, so that means that we're not being charged for the movement of money, so we don't have to cover that cost, which is super helpful. And then we take a small percentage of the job as well. So that on a small job, like say under $300, it can be as much as 15%. But then the larger jobs, I think the lowest it goes is like 1.4% of the
So
job
let's say
cost.
I'm doing, okay, so let's say I'm doing a bathroom reno. It ends up being, I mean, now saying $20,000 for a bathroom reno with you guys sounds ridiculous, but let's say it's $20,000. Am I paying that percentage as the homeowner,
No, it's
or is
it's
that
coming out of the
being,
contractor side.
it's coming out of the contractor side? Okay, so that percentage, but as the homeowner, I would pay what for the processing fee for to cover your like money transfers or
It
whatever it is.
ranges from like 1 to 4% depending on the how you're actually paying for it. So there's like so many payment options. There's even an option now that we've just switched over our payment processing to Stripe. So you can now pay with a firm, which will like split your payments over a number of months, etc., which is pretty cool.
And do you work similar in the sense of like, contractors will take a deposit and then they'll come back and say, we 75% done, or is it more of just on completion of job?
Yeah, so no deposits in the traditional sense. So the contractor never has money without doing work, but they will break those larger jobs into stages. So to use your bathroom example as one, that would for sure be a multi-stage project, but it's not stages in the traditional sense of like a 30% deposit, 30% progress, 30% progress, 10% holdback. It's actually designed like tangible stage by tangible stage so that a homeowner can very clearly see whether or not it's done. So typically it would be stage
What would an
one,
average person know what 30% is,
and
right?
that's where all the arguments happen, right? That's where there's so much friction between a homeowner and a contractor, where the contractor's like, look, the demo's done, the framing's done, the rough-in's done, that's 30%. And the homeowner's standing there going, my house looks like it's destroyed. Like, what are you talking about?
Totally.
And so that's where it's a different stage process. So think like stage one would be demo. Like, is the demo done? Stage two is framing. Is the framing done? Stage three
Sounds
is rough-ins. So, are the electrical lines run? Are the plumbing lines run? And then, boarding, mudding, taping, painting, finishes is typically like the way it would go. And so on a
which
project
is
like a
fair.
bathroom reno, let's say it's $20,000, each stage is probably 3 grand. And so you're never, over the tips of your skis. You're never upside down on this saying like, oh, this guy's got too much money already. He hasn't done enough. You can very tangibly decide, are we on track? Are we not on track?
I would also say, like, I think it's, deposits and, oh, they're trying to get too much money out of me. But we also all have to realize that these guys have to outlay money to buy materials, right? So there has to be some kind of goodwill where you're like, hey, you're buying all this lumber for framing, or you're buying all this copper for the plumbing. There is an element of like, hey, I'd like to have a little bit of this up front, not all of it necessarily, but I think that, people who are getting into the thought of a renovation is, yeah, it's only fair. And I think that's brilliant. And
So
again,
we actually do
back to,
that on the material thing. We do that two ways. So what some of the more savvy contractors have started doing is they'll say the first stage is actually material drop off. So so that they're putting the materials on a credit card themselves, so
totally.
they're earning their credit card points, they're earning a small rebate from wherever they bought it from. But that first stage is literally, okay, the materials in your living room now, like a homeowner releases that first stage for the materials, right? And it's done. Or the alternative is that the homeowner will just buy the materials, and then the contractor is only, getting paid for the labor. So there's two ways to handle that where the contractor isn't actually like financing your reno for you.
No, for sure. I know there's several that do it that way. I don't know. Not for me. I don't love that. I mean, I'm just going to hire someone good to do good things and let them do it. Who
Yeah,
the hell wants
sure.
to run around?
Yeah.
Who the hell wants to run around and pick up lumber? But yes,
Hey, there's different
no, but
different
there are people
strokes.
that do it.
There's people that love haggling over that lumber, and you're like, don't waste your time.
I want to pick
Let the
out the
professional
toilet.
handle it.
No, I have to pick up the toilet. I have to go get the right one. And I'm like, okay, you make yourself crazy. No, thank you. No, I think that's great. And I think that anybody who is thinking about doing a renovation, and obviously any like as a difference to Jiffy, I have to say, like, I'm not throwing her in the bus. They have a great model, and they were clearly profitable because they got bought. I only used them once in my entire life, and it was because I could not get any of my plumbers in, and we had a massive problem, and we were going away. And the guy showed up and staked my drain for 5 minutes and was like over $500. So no, seriously, like, and because it's like immediate, and it's this how much money to walk in your door, and then it's this much money an hour, and whatever, and it is what it
And
is
and, and
because
you're
you
paying for
are,
that, right? Like, and you're
and
paying
you're
for that
paying for that.
immediacy. Yeah.
There's no
Yeah,
question,
yeah.
but I would say if it's not immediate, yeah, but I also know lots of people, and I know lots of realtors that use Jiffy, but I would agree. I think, I mean, I would imagine for them, they're more like, hey, do you want someone to come mow your lawn? Because we're going to get pictures taken tomorrow. Whereas that's not what you guys do.
Yeah,
You
no.
guys
I
are
would
very much
honestly,
wanting it.
I wouldn't even put us in a competitive
No, I don't.
mindset. Like, we're very complimentary service.
Yes, I agree with you. There's no question. Just trying to like get people out of that mind frame. But anyway, going back to that, if anybody is thinking about it, we will put bidmii. Not that it's that hard to remember as you watch this entire episode. And like you said, I mean, there's no cost. It's easy. You throw it in to the site, and I still mean to play around with it myself. And I like to be able to use whatever site I recommend. So
Rachel, what's
maybe I'll
what's
be.
your what's your dream what's your dream reno? Like, if you could tackle anything right now, what What would it be?
Wrong person. I have like 19 tabs open in my head at all times.
Of course, of
Like
course.
literally, no, my husband looks at me. He's like, I'm like, no. I also own two properties, so I've like maybe more than that. I am actually a bark, and as we're talking, I'm like, maybe I'm going to throw it into bidme. I am about to embark on blowing my basement up
Okay, cool.
because I have even realtors come with problems. So we have had a water issue in our basement for a while that we have been ignoring.
You're in the water management business.
I'm telling you. And I'm like, I don't think we can we are never
You
home,
have
that kind of thing.
3D humidifiers running at all times. Is
No,
that
no, no,
it
no.
or
Like we have, and the reality is this is not and the other problem is that when the house was built, he did not dig down enough. So it was one of those like, I don't want to put a band-aid on an amputation. So it was like, and I had a client call me this morning about something. If you do something, do it well. If you need to replace your windows, don't replace three of them, replace all of them. Like I'm very much about that. So it was always like, wait, wait, wait. And basements can be very expensive. By the way, I was quoted $150,000 to underpin my basements. That's it.
were they going to lift the house, or do you know what was in that full scope?
I would be happy to share with you. I have to tell you, I can email you the quote. 100, and this guy came well recommended from my designer, and that was literally, that did not include my new sewer lines, that did not include electrical, that did not include drywall, that did not include the bathroom. And then I brought my contractor in, and they were like, yeah, you can't do this for under $300,000. And I'm like, if you think I'm going to put $300,000 into my basement, you are smoking crack. So, um, yeah.
How big is your basement? How many square feet?
Mm,
I'm
I'd say
running.
1,000. I'd say 1,000 because I have a below grade garage. So I'd say it's about 1,000. And I have a retaining wall that has to come out. I will not do anything with my basement without taking that wall out. That wall should have been taken out. So I need a permit to open that up and put steel beams across. But even that's not $300,000. So
Yeah, it's yeah. It's I mean you never know, but that's your. What would you turn it into? What would you turn your basement into? Is it you're putting a theater in and
no, I just put,
some?
honestly, I just make it livable. Like I would just, like we don't use it. It used to be where the nanny was when it was in much better shape, and my kids are old now, so I have a bathroom, but I just need one bedroom, only for resale down the road, and and a bathroom, and just a space for like my adult children when they come home and they want to like hang out down there. That's it, right? Really basic. We're not putting floors on, right? Like I'm not putting hardwood floors on I'm like, there's no marble going in. I'm going full on, and it's crazy.
Yeah, listen, the devil's in the details.
To be continued. By the way, I think we should do a follow-up where I come back and I show what bidme gave me for my basement.
Yeah, sure.
Could be a
That would
great,
be fun.
could be a great
That
episode.
would be fun. And we could even show like the scoping of something like that, what that looks like, the
I think we're going to take it offline
drawing
because
process, the whole
I
thing.
have I think I have a really fun idea for like a project. It could just be something that people follow along.
That would be fun.
On that note, we could talk forever, but I'm going to let you go. And I thank you. 3 times is a charm, or whatever that is. I'm glad that we got this going. And congrats on all the success. Really happy for you guys.
Hey, thanks so much, Rachel. It was a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks.